So here's what you're going to need to do this. Obviously, we're going to need 2 of these Harbor Freight ammo cans. These things are cheap and they're going to work great for what we're doing. We're going to need some miscellaneous hardware. These bolts are to hold the ammo cans to the actual fender itself. And then I've got some smaller bolts to hold the ammo cans to the little bracket system we're going to make to support it. Some spray paint. I'm going to paint my ammo cans black. You can paint yours whatever color you want or leave them green. And then we're just going to need some of this little flat aluminum. All this is 1/8 inch thick, 1.5 inch wide flat aluminum. We're going to need 5 or 6 feet of that depending on what kind of bike you have, because technically you could do this on any year, make, and model bike. It just depends. So what works for my bike might not work exactly for your bike, but the concept will still remain the same. My idea on our little bracket system here is I'm actually going to take this aluminum and cut 2 pieces of it for either side, and then we're going to sandwich the ammo can in between it, and then we can bolt through the whole thing so it'll support the ammo can all the way across, because I really don't want this thing flopping around while I'm going down the road. I'm going to mount mine on the outside of my quick detach hardware so that I can still put a sissy bar on this bike. But if you don't have quick detach hardware, you can mount directly to this, but you may want to put at least a plastic washer or something, a small spacer, something in between here to keep this from getting all scratched up, because you really don't want to ruin this. But to start off with, we're going to need to figure out how long we need our little brackets to be. So I'm just going to kind of measure and eyeball it, see what looks about right. Looks about like 9 inches will give me enough room to work with here. So we're going to go cut all these pieces to 9 inches and then go from there. So we're just going to take and measure out our 9 inches here and just make ourselves a little mark, and take our speed square and just draw us a straight little line across there. And then I am just going to cut this with a circular saw with an old blade on it, because aluminum's pretty soft, so you can cut it with a circular saw. It'll be fine. It might mess the blade up a little bit, but this is an old blade and I don't care about it. See, too easy. Now we got our 4 pieces to make our brackets out of. I'm just going to clean the ends up with a little bit of sandpaper right quick and call it good. I'm not really looking for perfection here. I just kind of want to get the burrs and sharp edges off. Now that we got these all cleaned up, like I said, my idea is to kind of take these and sandwich one on either side of this ammo can so we can support it and mount it to the fender. We need to figure out what our distance is between these 2 bolts center to center. So we're going to line our ruler up right there. You can use a tape measure, whatever you've got. And it looks like I got 7 inches on the dot. So we're actually going to draw a line right down the center of our little piece here. We know it's 1.5 inches wide, so 3/4 of an inch is going to be our center line. We're going to make 2 of those marks like that, and then we're just going to line the whole thing up with our little straight edge here and make a line right down the center. So we said our holes are 7 inches center to center, and we know our whole piece is 9 inches long. So if we come in 1 inch on either side and make a mark at the 1 inch line and at the 8 inch line, that gives us 7 inches between our 2 holes. Now that I've got my little marks made here, I know exactly where to drill. I took and put a little black dot on it so y'all can see it a little better. That pencil mark's probably hard for y'all to see on camera, but we're just going to drill a little pilot hole through it with a smaller drill bit first. Now we got our holes started. Now that I got my little starter holes drilled, I'm going to come over here and double check myself just to make sure, and it looks like those holes are lined up right dead on with the middle of those bolts, so we should be good. Now that we got our little pilot holes started, we can take our drill bit that's just a little bit bigger than the bolts that we're going to use, and we'll go ahead and finish these holes out. Just like that. And it looks like that's going to work out just fine. So let's go ahead and drill the rest of these out. Now we got all 4 of our brackets made. I'm probably going to clean these holes up with a little sandpaper. There's a couple little burrs on them, but other than that, we are done with this part. This is the part that's going to be challenging. Figure out where exactly you want to mount this can. I know I want mine to flip open towards the back, and I want to mount it pretty high so it doesn't interfere with any of this stuff down here. This is a little bit difficult by yourself, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hold it up about where I want it and do my best to come around here and kind of make a mark right about where I want it to line up. All I did was I came over here and found the mark I made over there at the bike, took my little speed square, lined it up, and just made a mark all the way across. I need to figure out where I want it to sit as far as front to back, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and line it up right like this. I'm going to make myself a little mark right in the center of my front bolt. Come back over here, find my little mark, draw myself another straight line with my square, and now what I can do is I can take my little bracket here and line the center of it up with the point at which those two lines intersect, center it up on the back there, and now I can draw my spot where my two holes go. If you didn't know, you can actually take these lids off of these cans to make your life a little easier. All you got to do is just flip the lid open and then kind of just pull it off to one direction. Slides right off, and then you're left with just this. It's a lot easier to work with. Now we're going to drill our little pilot holes again. Drill our big holes. Make sure we line up. That looks pretty good to me. Definitely want to clean these holes up a little bit just so we don't have no more sharp edges. Make sure you get the inside too. Now's the moment of truth. We're going to find out if it works. We're going to slide our washer on our bolt, slide that through our first bracket, take this entire thing, slide it through the holes we just made in our can, slide our other bracket on the other side. Now we're going to slide our quick detach hardware on the outside. Now let's see if it fits on the bike. I got a ratchet to socket and tighten this thing up, and man, this thing is solid. Now to make this thing line up perfectly with the other side, all I did was set it right on top of the other one, and I'm just going to transfer my marks onto the other can. That way they should line up perfectly. Drill them out and we should have something like that. Ignore this line, it's where I messed up earlier and marked the wrong ammo can. Put this side on the exact same way I did the other side. I'm gonna get this closed up, and this is what we're left with. I don't know about y'all, but I think that looks pretty damn good. It came out exactly the way I wanted it to. They're really sturdy. I can bounce the whole bike around if I put my weight on them. I don't think they're gonna go anywhere. I think they're going to be awesome. So let's get them pulled off and painted. I took all the brackets and I scuffed them with sandpaper. I'm getting those painted black. On the ammo cans themselves, we got a couple things to do before we can scuff and paint these. This little ring right here on the front, I took it off on this one, and I'm about to take it off on this one because this would be really annoying while you're riding down the road. All I did was take a pry bar and just get up underneath there and slowly pry that up until I could slide it out from underneath there. Just be really careful because you don't want to break this bracket off. That would be no bueno. Got that one off. You could 100% cut these, but for me, it was just easier just to lift that up a little bit, slide it right out, and not have to worry about accidentally cutting into the ammo can itself or anything like that. Now that that's off, we can go ahead and scuff and paint these. Another thing that would annoy the hell out of me going down the road is these handles flopping around. So we're going to go ahead and cut those off as well. Now that we got the handles and the gaskets removed, we can scuff these up and paint these as well. Slapped a coat of paint on all this, and I'm probably just going to let all this sit and dry until tomorrow and then come back to it, check it. I'll touch up any imperfections, then flip everything over and paint the other side. All right, so I got my brackets and my ammo cans painted. They're not perfect, but they're good enough for me. I got my hardware laid out. I decided to abandon using these smaller bolts in the middle here because I don't think it's necessary, and it's just another hole we're going to have to seal up. I'm a little worried about these holes leaking, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and put a bead of this regular RTV gasket maker right around the outside of this hole here. Then when I put this in and kind of smush it like that, hopefully the RTV will spread out and get everywhere and seal that up real nice for me. It looks terrible right now, but trust the process. We can always clean it up afterwards. See how that gasket maker kind of spread out for us all underneath there? That's exactly what we want. We got a little bit of overflow on this side, but we'll just wipe that off and keep it clean as we go. I slid the outside bracket on and wiped all the excess off. We're looking pretty good so far. We're going to just slide our quick detach hardware on. Make sure you put a little blue Loctite on these things. You definitely don't want these coming out. Now we can just take the whole thing and mount it up just like we did before. Got it on and tightened up, and see how that RTV squeezed all out of there like that? That's exactly what we wanted it to do. Hopefully it's sealed up real good. Repeat the exact same process on the other side. Wipe all your dirty fingerprints off of there, and we are done. This is the final product. These things came out better than I expected, honestly, and they're pretty solid going down the road. They don't flop around or anything. They don't make a bunch of noise. Let's run through this cost breakdown right quick. I used 2 of these 50 caliber ammo cans from Harbor Freight. They're $17.99 a piece, which brings us to $35.98. I used 4 feet of this flat aluminum, which is $7.69 at Lowe's, which brings us to $43.67. 2 cans of this black spray paint at $6.98 a piece brings us to $57.63. And I think I spent about $5 on all the miscellaneous hardware I used, which brings us to a grand total of $62.63. This was a super fun little budget project. I just took these things on a 1,500-mile trip down to Florida and back, and they did great. They were rock solid the entire time. We got caught in the rain. Nothing inside them got wet. They did fantastic, and you cannot beat these things for right about $60. I'm still really trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing, so if there's something you guys think I can do better, let me know down in the comments below, and make sure you hit that subscribe button because I got a lot more stuff coming.